Today's Wednesday, November 19, 2014, the 223rd day of the year. There are 42 days remaining until the end of 2014. On this day in 1863, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln travels from Washington some 80 miles north to the battlefield at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, to participate in the dedication of the military battlefield there. The three-day battle fought July 1 through 3, 1863, is a Union victory, but it comes at a great cost. Between the Union and the Confederacy, about 8,000 souls are swept away in the 3 days. More than 27,000 are wounded, many of those grievously. More than 11,000 are missing or captured. On this day of consecration, fewer than half of the fallen are reinterred from the improvised field graves in which they've lain since summer. Lincoln, not the featured speaker this day, his appearance is meant only to be ceremonial. Edward Everett of Massachusetts, known and celebrated in his day for his soaring oratory, speaks for 2 hours as onlookers stand in the chill open air. On the train to Gettysburg the day before, on November 18, Lincoln remarks to his secretary, John George Nicolay, that he feels dizzy and weak. When Lincoln boards the 6:30 p.m. train back to Washington on this day, he's feverish with a severe headache. Later that evening at the White House, the president, diagnosed with a mild case of the smallpox, takes to his bed and is sidelined thereafter for several days of recuperation. On this day in 1984, a series of explosions at the Pemex petroleum storage facility at the town of San Juan Ixhuatepec, just outside Mexico City, starts a major fire and kills about 500 people. Among the annals of urban industrial disaster involving liquefied petroleum gas, not counting war, of course, falling into the preventable or accidental category, this one scores a solid 4.5 out of 10. During the early morning hours of the tank farm during transfer operations, the plant's being filled from a refinery about 250 miles distant. A pipe ruptures, spilling gas into a plume that quickly spreads close to ground level throughout the facility. The plume, pushed by wind, drifts toward the flare-off area where waste gas is being burned in the open air on the west side of the facility. There, at 5:40 a.m., the accumulated gas cloud in contact with open-air flares ignites, creating a vapor cloud explosion, which immediately does damage to the tank farm, resulting in what is generally acknowledged to be a massive conflagration. Any technicians on site immediately gone. 4 minutes later, 5:44 a.m., the first tank goes up in a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. The actual technical description, the acronym for short, is BELEVE, or believe, as in do you believe, which pretty much anyone who's ever seen one of these things up close most certainly does, at least for that fraction of a second just before instantaneous incineration. Within the hour, 12 more of these large explosions become impressed upon the public record. 54 gigantic spherical storage tanks explode in short order. The Pemex tank farm, quickly, hopelessly destroyed, is surrounded by the town of San Juan Ixhuatepec, populated by some 40,000 souls, who are now pretty much wide awake and fleeing for their lives. Those, that is, who have not immediately been either blown up or set on fire or otherwise swept away by dwellings in involuntary demolition and variously sized fragments. And by fragments, some are weighed in terms of tonnage, the largest at 30 tons, propelled by force of the continuing explosions over distances as much as more than a half mile from the plant. The entire town is pretty much in flames by daybreak, burning throughout the day and the following night. As many as 600 people are killed. It's hard to say because the fire is so hot. Remains are hard to find. And as many as 7,000 residents severely burned. On this day in 1998, the United States House of Representatives Judiciary Committee meets to begin impeachment hearings against U.S. President Bill Clinton. Ever since early Homo sapiens descended from the trees and learned to walk and run for political office, maybe even, who can remember, up there among the leaves and branches, mating privileges traditionally are granted by the female of the species to the more powerful males. Darwin calls it natural selection, a matter of survival, passing the most attractive, the strongest traits on down to succeeding generations. Kings do it, warlords most certainly do it. American presidents have been known to do it since the days of the young republic. Jefferson, Jackson, old Ben Franklin, not a president, but it's no accident his pictures on the $100 bill are notorious with the ladies. Even academic dweebish presidents such as Woodrow Wilson had romantic encounters with women not his wife. Warren G. Harding wrote filthy mash notes to his girlfriend that are preserved and can be enjoyed and clucked over today. Harding, not a particularly handsome specimen, not all that bright or funny or original. For the love of God, he was a newspaperman back in Ohio. How square is that? And still, the women's love him. It isn't so much that Bill Clinton, whose pre-presidential nickname, after all, bestowed by his state police bodyguards when he's Arkansas governor, is Slick Willie, grants access to his pants as president so much as it is that he denies it. When he says, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky," he dishonors the divine right of powerful men to bestow and to receive sexual favors. He shames the office. The Senate impeaches Bill Clinton for perjury, not for sex. If he just says, "Yeah, sure, I did it, and it was good too, nice girl, a great talent, now let's move on," guess what? No impeachment. Business as usual. Honesty goes a long way toward puncturing the hypocrisy of outdated cultural mores. A little more trouble with the wife, doubtless, but you know he can't avoid that no matter what he does. 17th century English poet and courtier John Wilmot, the second Earl of Rochester, who dies at the age of 33 of a scandalous disease, writes, "Then, if to make your ruin more, you'll peevishly be coy, die with the scandal of a whore, and never know the joy." From Rutland, Vermont, this is Richard Alcott speaking.